Are we set to miss out on signing Viktor Osimhen this summer? Well, today, my friends, I'm here to discuss all the latest striker summer news surrounding Viktor Gyokeres and Viktor Osimhen as well too. So let's sit back, relax and understand what is going on with these stories. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Hit that like button. Let's try and get 2k likes. I really want to get consistent with the likes over 2k. So if you guys want to help me out, it is much appreciated. So let's not waste any more time. So let's get straight into things. And earlier this afternoon, an Italian publication called Il Mattino, they came out and stated on their headline that secretly Viktor was dreaming of signing for Paris Saint-Germain this summer. Wow. Now, I think over the past few days, there were some reports coming out suggesting that we had agreed personal terms or a fee for Viktor, which clearly wasn't the case, because if that was the case, this would be the biggest story of this month. You would see the most notable journalists covering the story, offering their insights, and if they're not doing that, it means we aren't close whatsoever. But the real story is right now is that every interested party that hopes to sign Viktor, that's us, Paris Saint-Germain, Arsenal and a few others, they want to use this time right now to negotiate a fee lower than Viktor's £103 million release clause. And I think this is the most realistic thing, because I don't think anyone at Napoli, especially De Laurentiis, is expecting any club to outright pay and activate their release clause. If that does happen, that will be a desperation move, because the competition might be that fierce, and maybe that implies hypothetically that Viktor doesn't have his future set in stone at this point in time. So outside of that possibility happening, the reality is I'm expecting clubs coming in to negotiate a fee lower than that release clause. I think De Laurentiis is expecting that, because this season has been an absolute nightmare for Napoli. Of course, after winning the Scudetto last season, they lost their winning manager in Spalletti, who fell out with De Laurentiis. They then lose their best defender to Bayern Munich, who activated his release clause. They've now gone through 2 managers so far this season. They're currently on their 3rd one. The players have been a bit unhappy. And their star player in Viktor Osimhen, where last summer they turned down an offer of around £130 million from a Saudi club, he has suffered this season with a lot of small injuries and issues, and it has taken a toll on his season, even though his scoring record is okay considering this context. Napoli, De Laurentiis, they don't have much bargaining power, because they need to cash in, because they must rebuild their team and rebuild their squad. That's what clubs like Napoli traditionally do. Yes, they had amazing success last season, but I think De Laurentiis' gamble of keeping their star player and, looking to continue to build and grow the team definitely backfired due to all the poor decision makings outside the squad. So in my opinion, I believe that if you want to sign Viktor, he may cost you less than this £103 million release clause. I think that's the most realistic thing right now. Now let's go back to when Osimhen signed his recent contract extension. Now that only extended his existing contract length to 2026, but the 2 main benefits was there was going to be a release clause in this new extension, and he was set to become the highest paid player in Serie A, where he's currently earning around 12 million a year, which is insane money. And during the time, De Laurentiis came out after the extension talks and revealed that once Viktor had signed the contract extension, it was all set in stone that he was set to leave Napoli. And the realistic clubs you saw him going to was going to be Real Madrid, Paris Saint-Germain, or maybe a club in the Premier League. This did come to an amicable agreement, because, they knew that he was set to leave them. So let's now go back to the reports that came out today from Il Mattino. I'll go through things very quickly. They mentioned how Viktor's been a bit of a frustrated figure this season. Things haven't gone well for him at Napoli. The injuries, the layoffs, the AFCON final as well too. He's not in the best state and best mind, and he is definitely ready to leave Napoli at the end of the season. But it does seem that Paris Saint-Germain may have the advantage at this point in time, because technically they're the only club that could afford to pay his release clause outright, and alongside us, they've been constantly talking to Viktor behind the scenes to persuade him to sign for them. And from a sporting perspective point of view, they can offer Viktor Champions League football, and I'd say their squad is more suited to suiting Viktor's needs than us at this point in time. I mean, think about it like this. Once you replace Mbappe, you're going to be supported by Barcola, Dembele, Kolo Muani, maybe Xavi Simons, etc, etc. And you know at Paris Saint-Germain that they can match your current contract or even exceed it to get you to sign. And we can't forget that Paris Saint-Germain also have a very exciting sporting project going on at the club right now. And listen, they're signing top young talents. They have a team that is getting ready to get better for the future. And with Viktor spearheading this type of project at Paris Saint-Germain, you know, I don't feel as confident that it's a guarantee that we can sign him. And it simply comes down to this. I feel like Viktor would love to sign for us, but the reality is that we need the money to be able to sign him. And we can only do that once we sell some players first, because then we can understand what our budget is set to be like for this window. Because, you know, with talks surrounding us and Gyökeres, which I'll get onto for the second final part of this video, it doesn't seem like we're afraid to spend big money on signing someone. But outside of the transfer fee, can we entice them with the wages? Could we offer Viktor that 12 million a year or more to sign for us? I'm not too sure, because that goes against the current club budget and structure at this point in time. But in my opinion, I'd like to feel that Viktor would feel like he's conquered Ligue 1 already, and he would like to test himself out in a new league. Anyway, you guys, that is pretty much the story. But you know, for all of us, we shouldn't get too complacent and get too cocky in thinking that we can definitely sign Viktor outright. I think that there's still a big strong possibility that we can do that, but it seems like we must get some outside factors under control right now, so we know how much money we have to play with to get this deal done. Because I don't think that Viktor wants to waste too much time, similar to what happened to Lukaku. He wants his future sorted and guaranteed immediately. So that's the Viktor Osimhen news out the way. And now we end things by discussing one of the most informed, hottest strikers in Europe right now, and that is Sweden international Viktor Gyokeres, because we have some interesting updates coming out from Record in Portugal, and it seems like Sporting Lisbon are doing their homework and they're already preparing for alternatives to Viktor Gyokeres in the summer. And the player they are targeting is Panathinaikos striker in Fotis Ioannidis, who's having a great breakout season at the moment. He's been there for a few years, but I think currently in like 36 games, 20 goals, 7 assists, and he fits that profile at striker that can score goals but create for his teammates as well. So that's interesting that Sporting Lisbon now are getting ready for a future without Gyökeres. But to continue on, another report came out suggesting that we have sent scouts for the third time this season to follow Gyökeres, and we followed his game when he scored a goal against Portugal in the recent friendly matches. Now, obviously, they lost 5-2, I think, in the end, but there's not much a player can do individually by himself, right? But I find it interesting that we're paying a lot of attention when it comes to scouting and monitoring the player. 3 times this season, it feels like we want to get all the details right. We're doing our homework properly, because listen, strikers at this football club don't tend to have the best times here. They don't tend to have the greatest successes all the time. And we have become a bit of a striker graveyard over the years, because in my personal opinion, we sign a profile of striker that just doesn't complement or ever suit the team. But I think with guys like Viktor, Osimhen and Gyökeres, you know, powerful kind of advanced style forwards, I feel like they would definitely complement what we're hoping to build with this current team. Now let's go back to the report that came out in January, and Record mentioned that in January we did entertain an offer by presenting Sporting Lisbon 80 million plus 5 million in bonuses to try and get a deal over the line. But that was never going to happen, because of course Sporting Lisbon are hoping to win the league this season, and they don't want to sell their star player for peanuts, considering he's one of the hottest informed strikers in Europe. I mean, I think that's what, 36 goals and 14 assists in 39 games. That's like 50 goal contributions in 39 games. And I think there's around like 10 or 12 games left in Sporting Lisbon's season. And realistically, you'd expect Viktor to at least get 10 more goal and assist contributions before the season ends. And I think if that's the case, I think, yeah, this guy is definitely leaving for his release clause money. Now, he follows alongside a great list of players that have done really well in the Portuguese league. You're looking at guys like Darwin Núñez, Falcao. But I think what separates him from, you know, other players in the Portuguese league that scored tons of goals, you know, like Bas Dost, I think he got like 32, 34 goals. Remember Jonas, who was playing for Benfica, I think on 2 occasions he broke past scoring 30 goals. With those types of strikers, they didn't really translate their goal scoring form in Europe or on an international level. But I think with Viktor, he's completely different because he's impressing on all different stages. He scores at home, he scores away from home, he scores in Europe, and he scores internationally. I think that time he spent with Coventry in the Championship for like 2 years was a very vital thing for his development, because the Championship is a very, very physical, draining type of league. And if you're asserting yourself in a league like that against powerful defenders and lots of fast-paced type of football, I think that's going to give you a lot of confidence when it comes to playing your football in the Portuguese league, which is a very open type of league and doesn't have that type of physical nature that you would get in the Premier League. So it seems like Viktor is a player we are still paying great attention to, because realistically, I think we are preparing for alternatives in case we aren't able to sign Viktor Osimhen due to getting priced out, essentially. I think this is why you keep seeing reports about other strikers. I think Ivan Toney is still there. He could be available for a lot less money, around maybe 50, 60 million this summer. So that is definitely a striker to keep an eye out for. But I do think with how often we followed Gyökeres this season, our sporting directors have seen him, scouts have seen him, it seems like he would be the second alternative if we can't sign Viktor. And you know what? I'm not going to sit here and act like, yes, this is like a genius move. He's set to be like an instant success story with us. But I'll look towards maybe another player that shares similar parallels, and that would be Darwin Núñez, where, Darwin Núñez, before he signed for Liverpool, he came off a fantastic goal-scoring season with Benfica. I think it was like, 34, 36 goals for the entire season. And then he then signed for Liverpool for around 85 million. But in his first season at Liverpool, he showed great promise, but he also showed that he had to adapt to life in the Premier League. And this season, he's faring a lot better. 17 goals and 14 assists. These are the type of statistical numbers that, we'd love for most of our players to have, right? But for Darwin Núñez, you still feel like this isn't his full potential yet, because he's the type of guy that could get you 25 plus goals in a season. So I bring him up as an example because I feel like if we did sign a Viktor, he still need an adaptation period to life in the Premier League. And, at Lisbon, he's the type of striker where they look to funnel their moments through to Viktor to be the guy to spearhead the attacks and, of course, get all the goals. But I feel like if you decide to sign strikers like this, in a way, you're also communicating the fact that you're looking to create solely for them to score the goals. And I think to myself, would it not benefit us to maybe spread the goals across the team instead? And, even outside of that, I have question marks around guys like Nicolas Jackson and Christopher Nkunku. It's a shame that Nkunku's season's been plagued with injury after injury because, God knows what would have happened if this guy was consistently available throughout the season. But he is set to return back. And then I think to myself, if we have another striker, what's the plan going to be for Nkunku? Does he become just another guy that has to fight for a position in the team? I'm not too sure. And then what about Nicolas Jackson, who's showing in his first season, listen, he's not the finished article, but to have like 12 goals and how many assists in his debut season, a season that's still ongoing, and a season where he can probably still score more goals. You don't think to yourself, we've signed this guy for £30 million. This is his impact in his first season. What could his impact be like in the second season? I just feel like I'm not fooling myself into thinking that a striker comes in, single-handedly blasting like 25, 30 goals in his debut season, and then we start doing serious things. I just think that it takes a lot more time for stuff like that. And I think the team isn't necessarily perfect or in their final stages of their development to really even take advantage of having a striker like this in the team. I don't know. I just think that with the money that's being requested for your Viktors and your Gyökeres, I just think to myself, would it not be better for us to maybe keep Nicolas Jackson, have Nkunku as the striker for next season? Because I don't see us doing this 4-2-3-1 anymore, because I think Enzo and Caicedo at the moment, they need another midfield player beside them. It doesn't have to be a Conor Gallagher, but I feel like they need a 3-man midfield over a 2-man midfield, because we need that sense of numbers in the midfield area. I might sound crazy to you guys. I do think that Viktor and Gyökeres are great players, but I've also seen how things don't work out for us. So if I had to decide, I'm probably just using Nkunku and Nicolas Jackson as my main strikers for next season. I pay attention to see how Dacia Fofana develops, who's doing really interesting things with Burnley this season, and let's say after another loan away next season, he comes back in an even stronger position. And then I think about maybe adding more goals from wide areas. You know, I think we need to sign a player that is a maverick, that can create with his dribbling threat, that is a technical winger. I think that can add a lot more to the team compared to just a striker that is solely dependent on top quality service consistently. And even though our strikers have missed their opportunities, it's not like we're constantly producing just like elite chance creation moments for our strikers. I don't see that being the case. So anyway, my friends, that's the latest news surrounding Viktor Osimhen and Viktor Gyokeres. Let's see what happens this window, because I don't really know what striker will end up signing. I think Viktor is still the favourite. Let's see if we get this money through to be able to sign him. And outside of that, my friends, in the comments, who would be your second option if we can't sign Viktor Osimhen? Would it be Gyökeres, or are there other strikers that you're looking at on the market? So, my friends, on that note, I'm the EFC. This is Blue Lions TV. I'll see you guys later with some more videos. Cool.